And good evening, everyone. Welcome to Zelda Speedruns Presents. Tonight we have the A Link to the Past Randomizer Challenge Cup 2021 Semifinals between zer0rush and Phant. This is a third match in a best of three, so winner takes all and moves on to the finals. Tonight on commentary, we have Drossi, who's currently working to fix their microphone, and MindDM. How are you two doing today?
I am doing well. We do apologize for that little bit of technical difficulty getting Com2 back on the air here. We were fine up until about 30 seconds to go, but technical difficulties, it happens sometimes. We will get there, I do promise. I am MindDM. Drossi will be joining me just as soon as this little microphone snafu has been fixed. And in the meantime, we are getting really close to go time here. Of course, the runners have been running for very nearly 10 minutes at this point. There is a 10-minute delay for this tournament. And so we're going to see things 10 minutes after they actually happened, and we will be here to lead you right on through.
Well, Uncle guarantees a sub 2-hour seed, so that's always a good start, right?
And here the man is right on schedule. Drossi, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm excited. This tournament is really getting to the final stages here. This is the final semifinal match. Winner will face Late Bit in the finals. Loser will face W. Garrison for bronze. So, this is the home stretch.
Yep, it really is a tournament that has been ongoing for a little while now, but we have the end clearly in sight, and it all starts tonight as one of these runners is going to take home a victory in this best-of-3 series and move on to face Late Bit, as you said.
But first, they need to get through a Burna escape.
Oh, now they need to get through a hammer escape.
Oh, the game is nice when it gives you, an extra weapon like that.
Yeah, all of a sudden you have choices. Of course, runners of this caliber unlikely to really need the safety that Burnow offers, but just in case anything should happen to go awry, all of a sudden you have a backup option.
Well, once again, we see the 6-minute sequence that I'm sure everyone's very used to seeing by now.
Between the Challenge Cup and the main tournament, we have seen a great deal of standard, so most people likely conversant with this, but just in case you saw the words Semi-Final Game 3 Best of 3 and decided to join in, this is a standard 7/7 seed. These are not the exact settings that the main tournament used. This is not the hard item pool, so things like mail upgrades, the butter sword, the silver arrows are absolutely on offer to our runners here, if they happen to stumble upon them.
There is, of course, always the possibility that we still need to do a Master Sword Silverless Gammon.
Absolutely possible. The mode does not really have to take into account anything. It's only going to have to give you the things that you absolutely need to beat the seed.
Well, we've already gotten the key that we're going to need for the sewers, so other than the map, everything else we find here in Escape should be items.
It's always nice to know, but of course we still have that bomb outstanding. 3 items away in the back here that you're going to need a bomb to access, or the boots could show up, I suppose.
And I believe the guard item pool is the one that starts with 2 hearts, so that is not one with a bomb in it.
Not one with a bomb in it. We do still have the rats. We could see a bomb come out of the chest in Dark Cross since we already do have that small key.
Still holding out hope.
Well, hoping until hope is lost, or it's going to be a hot minute here until we actually get to those rats in the Dark Cross and we can actually get that information.
Now, of course, the thing about the hammer start is you have to wonder if we will find early Dark World once we get out of here.
It does become a little more likely. There only needs to be a glove and the moon pearl in your way. And of course, comparatively, you don't have even a single sword yet, so Aga not really on the menu at the moment.
And between the two tournaments, we have had enough races where the runners have had Dark World access by the time they finish with CAC.
Tends to make for some interesting divergence in routing every once in a while. If one runner thinks, you know what, I'd really just like to go ahead and finish clearing out Spear 1 first, and the other one says, nope, you know what, I'm good, let's get into the Dark World and start doing some damage, shall we?
Well, we're not getting bombs from a chest before the back of Escape.
No, just a little more cash. We haven't even reached the level of buy your own bombs.
And that full magic fill is not a prize pack that includes bombs.
No, that goes big magic, a bunch of small magics, and then a $5. So we're going
zer0rush knows that. He is not bothering. But he also knows that that means that Phant doesn't have any bombs either.
It's good knowledge to have. Of course, now those 3 chests in the back of Escape get to weigh on your mind for a little while. Does the game want me to pick up bombs elsewhere and walk back through? It will give me the light cone. Or am I waiting for a glove to make this check a little easier?
Well, hey, we are racking up weapons left and right at least.
We certainly seem to be. The escape sequence just loaded with offensive firepower.
We haven't seen a map check from either runner yet.
Both of these runners have been tending to put the map check off a little late. They've also both, and as I'm about to say this, Phant appears to want to check the lumberjack this time, maybe. Both of the runners had been putting this check off all series.
And it looks like our tier 2 tree pull is just small magic. Ooh, they're bombs from the bush crab.
And bombs in the forest drop. Bombs
Gotta love when the siege
them.
just like, we heard you want bombs, here's some bombs. A bit late, but, you know.
Better late than never, as the saying goes.
Okay, so we have a vanilla green pendant in Eastern, regular crystal in Hera, and a 5-6 in Desert.
Interesting mix for the light world. Phant being very sure to stock up on some bombs here is maybe not going to be the most pleased with that time expenditure once he drops into the forest drop here and gets 3 more.
Well, Blindside is Arrow Hut today, though we don't have a bow yet. There's our Moon Pearl, so that's 2/3 of Dark World access.
And now you wonder, how long until the glove?
Yeah, I'm thinking, well, what if that glove is in the back of Escape and that's our Dark World access?
Absolutely possible. The logic 100% supports it. I would expect to see our runners make several other checks before they go back to that, though.
Oh, definitely. You gotta do the South Shore at a minimum.
I'd be tempted to go over and see our favorite Elder Saha. You know, maybe 3 quick checks in the back there. You can decide at that point whether or not you really like the Bland Eastern, if a bow has shown up by then or not.
Well, with that book, maybe you want to visit Saha's brother, too.
Early desert access. I'm not a fan of early desert access only because for a light world dungeon, you need a lot of other items to actually support the clear.
Yeah, I just have to wonder about the early book because at the moment the only thing it's giving us is desert.
It'll be interesting to see if maybe one of our runners wants to make the dam to Agina and then into desert play based on that book.
Wouldn't totally surprise me to see zer0rush do that.
Looks like the seed has more money than you can shake a stick at in the early going.
But oddly enough, we don't have logical Zora access.
But not that that's going to stop any runner in this tournament, but it is true that, you know, the check not necessarily where the game wants you to be at the moment.
Okay, not going back to library, just a piece of heart there.
And zer0rush going to go ahead and check the race game.
Oh, well, okay.
That answers that question. I think everybody's going to be going back for that just as soon as they see it. They say all you need is glove.
Probably save and quickly do the back of escape and then start thinking, like, maybe hype cave.
Sounds entirely reasonable to me. Of course, in probably 8 seconds or so when Zero picks that glove up, we'll see what he has in mind. And Phant's going to take a little time back here, is going to blind run this race game.
Yeah, he probably didn't want to follow the book, so he's just kind of hoping for something here and it'll pay off.
And as you surmised, Zero with the immediate save and quit to Sanctuary is going to go ahead and make this back escape check.
This is interesting. Phant is not doing back of escape. He might be going to Hype Cave. No, he's leaning over to the right. He's doing South Shore. And all we got for our trouble really there was a bottle, but that does open Sick Kid.
It does open a check. It does also have that red potion in it, so a little bit of added safety. 3-Heart Dark World is not always conducive to good health. Having a little extra safety in the bank, not a bad thing.
And the moral of this is I know zer0rush's playstyle a lot better than I know Phant's playstyle.
Yeah, we're going to get dueling 5-item locations here. I think Phant's going to be happy with that hook shot that he just pulled out of Many Moldorm Cave.
Yeah. That is definitely a good item to have. Oh, and zer0rush, meanwhile, is getting a Master Sword, also a good item to have.
Dueling 5-item locations, dueling good items to have. It seems to have worked out for both of our runners. It becomes a little bit of a question of when each of them will go make the other check, but, you know, they're both relatively early options that they can make their way to without too much trouble.
So it looks like zer0rush is just going to do the kind of standard 2 more checks here. He's got Stumpy, he's got Dig Game.
Provided those zeros didn't get him down to 1 heart here. The Dark World, as I was saying just a moment ago, not conducive to continued good health on low heart green mail.
Oh, now that's interesting. And yeah, we have the map check. So 5, 6 Turtle Rock, and the other 2 pendants are Skullwoods and Thieves.
Yeah, as that map check cut you off from the previous thought, that powder is giving us another logical check because that hammer was bright and early.
Yep. So once one of these guys gets both the bottle and the powder, then they have a real reason to go back to CAC because 2 checks opened up.
And it looks fairly likely that that'll be Phant, I think. You know, the bottle should be maybe a little more in the way once a save and quit happens.
We'll see where zer0rush is going now. He sure dug up a lot of big 20s.
Inclusive of the actual prize of the dig game, I think. Again, the seed just throwing money at our runners, and with that glove, zer0rush is now in logic.
Okay, so both runners are skipping the dam for the time being, which means they're both thinking about that book that they're going to want to combine the dam with a desert play.
Seems entirely reasonable, they have the glove now, still, missing a fire source of some kind for sure, and it's entirely possible the boots need to appear as well. I do kind of wonder how long both of them are going to want to choose to put that off, though, given just how early the book was.
So now the other thing is the hookshot and the hammer give us out-of-logic access to all of Life Death Mountain.
It's a great many item locations, all sorts of possibilities for things that can be up there. Again, one of those questions, how soon do our runners decide that they want to go up there and avail themselves of all those checks?
And as they finish up each other's checks, where are they each going to go next? Oh, Zero's going back out. I wonder if this means he's going to fake Flipper.
This looks like a good time for it. Again, with all of those rupees just kind of popping right on into inventory bright and early. And the zer0rush fully accessible logically with that glove. Seems entirely reasonable to me. Meanwhile, Phant is heading over towards the eastern area, that play over to at least Saha's closet and that green pendant in Eastern Palace that our runners can't get yet without a bow.
And we've also now seen that Lake Hylia Island is a vanilla piece of heart out of the picture now.
No real reason to pick that up unless, of course, you happen to need a health refill and you've been counting your progression of pieces of heart very carefully. And I suppose you're also on the way to Ice Palace. A lot of things would have to come together for a runner to pick that piece of heart up. But Phant is going to go ahead and make the Eastern Palace play here.
Yeah, so maybe he'll get all 3 items in here? So far... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, starting with the bombs, which are certainly not the kind of thing that you make a play into a pendant dungeon looking for.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so far, just junk turning up for both of our runners on their latest plays. There's a bow. I don't think zer0rush has what with to do, Ancilla, though.
No, unfortunately lacking a bow or a red cane or a red boomerang to perform splash deletion here. If there's a setup with the items that zer0rush has, I am not familiar with it.
And Zora takes 99% of your investment.
And promises that you're going to make it back many times over later. Absolutely. 100%. No lies. The This place looking a little mountainous from zer0rush. Ever so slightly out of logic, of course, with no lamp and no flute having shown up. Of course, the Old Man Rescue itself will be out of logic until the lamp appears, but, you know, minor details.
Well, one thing about doing the Death Mountain climb out of logic is if you find either the lamp or the flute, that gives you information about the other.
And the hope in this case would be you're just missing the lamp, you're going to find the fire rod elsewhere, so you're not really missing first fire for a terribly long time, and, you know, you're just leaving it behind in something like the front of Skull Woods or the back of Thieves Town, which could totally be places that you don't otherwise want to go because they're pendant dungeons that you're really hoping not to clear.
I assume Phant with this Sanctuary start is now going to do Back of Escape. Nope, he's going for the mountain. Okay, so we know the flute isn't in Meyer area. The lamp isn't in Meyer area.
Yeah, the lamp seems pretty clearly to be down in the lower world. I really would not be surprised to see it somewhere in Western Dark World at this point. With the mirror still lacking from both of our runners' inventory, that flute is going to elude them for a little while yet, no matter the fact that zer0rush for one has seen it.
To answer chat, no one's been to desert yet.
No matter how early the book was, neither of the runners have wanted to go there. Not chasing it.
Paradox Cave not looking too great today.
No, I think that heart container was about the best thing in it.
And our tracker, Professor Pixie, noting that, yes, they can check Ether Tablet while they're up here.
Yeah, it's right next door to Tower of Hera, which is a crystal they're both going to want to be clearing out anyway. The hookshot means that Hera Pot is absolutely on the table. zer0rush seeing that Cane of Samaria, another mirror-locked item. Certainly beginning to wonder where the mirror is hiding from our runners, because now we're missing two major progression items. Pretty much the entire Meyer care package, less whatever the medallion's going to be to enter it, locked away behind that mirror.
Now that was an interesting choice on zer0rush's side to do Spiral Cave now.
My guess is that we're going to see, after the Tower of Hera play, a Spike Cave check. So it's an attempt to not orphan one of the two caves there, either Spiral or Spike.
Oh yeah, that Burna does put Spike. I can't quite say in logic because the whole mountain isn't in logic yet, but if we ignore the lamp in logic.
Well, until we need it for first fire, let's go ahead and ignore the lamp, shall we?
But it is also interesting that we have seen two items that we will absolutely need up here that are mirror locked.
Beginning to wonder, if it's not in Hera, are we going to wind up dipping one of those West Dark World pendant dungeons looking for it? Or, is it something silly like an early check in Palace of Darkness to come up here and get those things, to go do everything else to go find your bow?
I mean, the lamp and the flippers have to show up at some point because Swamp is a crystal. Oh, now this is interesting. zer0rush is actually going up the vanilla route here. I'm a little bit surprised.
Might
But
be a
given
little
how
bit
much...
of that.
Sorry, go ahead.
It might be a little of that NMG muscle memory, very used to making the climb this way.
I was also going to say, given how much trouble Phant's having with Harapot. Oh no! And Zero goes down the double floor.
Well, we may see a Harapot from zer0rush after all. Or we'll see an intentional death warp, okay? Those hard hat beetles were not nearly as cooperative the second time around on zer0rush's side, and Phant is already heading into the boss room.
I missed it. Did we get anything out of the big chest? Must have been an item because Phant doesn't have a key and we've already seen the map and compass.
Yeah, he didn't open it.
Oh, okay. Well then. Oh, and it is... Okay, so there is an item in the basement that we can't get at even if we wanted because we don't have a fire source.
Well,
And
this is a
zer0rush
seed.
does a routing you don't see very often, slipping by that bumper without the boots.
Yeah, it's a matter of positioning rather than a matter of how quickly you get through, but as you mentioned, not many runners even attempt it when they have no boots.
That's crystal number 1 for both of our runners. Phant is going to Spike Cave, so he's going to be orphaning Spiral Cave, but we know there's nothing there.
Does not always feel the greatest to leave one of those behind, but in this case, if he doesn't try to come back for it, it's not actually going to bite him. And it looks like Spike Cave is every bit as valueless.
So the basic difference here is that, well, Phant's now going to get his bottle from the back of Escape. zer0rush has already done that, but he hasn't done the eastern area. And it looks like zer0rush is now finally going to do Dam, which we have not yet seen from either runner.
Yeah, a little new information here. Have to think that this is going to be that play on into the desert area afterwards.
Nice hookshot clip there to avoid having to go in twice.
It looks so easy, but I, for one, have all kinds of trouble with it.
And there's a second bottle. Might as well grab it since it's got a fairy.
Yeah, easy safety right on the way if you're going to walk west towards the desert area anyway. And it looks like Phant is ready for West Dark World at this point.
Now, if this lamp has been sitting here in Agina all along, or maybe inside desert, accessible and desert's not boots locked, we could theoretically clear desert here.
Yeah, it's kind of all predicated on that lamp showing up, or a fire rod. Agina just has a full-size heart tucked away in his closet.
Sankheart, no less.
Welcome to the team, Sankheart. It's been a little while. And Phant has chosen to go ahead and drop into Skull Woods here. There is a possibility that there's no small key in these 3 chests, and he would be forced to save and quit. Of course the comm says that, and then it's not 1 but 2 small keys on the left side of the front of Skull Woods. Now that's something you do not see often, all 3 keys on that side.
Well, we are locked out of desert. Desert is boots locked, but yeah. So now do you go back up Death Mountain to get that flute? Looks like zer0rush is doing that.
Simply for the mobility, it makes a lot of sense, but we're going to need at least, the other glove to show up before that really becomes a major concern.
Yeah, but without the boots, as you were saying, mobility, it definitely provides that. Suddenly pod becomes much easier to do.
Yeah, flute just makes getting around the world a whole lot nicer, especially with the mirror. You can, kind of flute to whatever your closest point to the dark world you actually want to be in is, and go from there.
And this also gives a good excuse to check Sick Kid and Magic Bat, because you're going back to CAC anyway to activate the flute. And
it certainly seems like it's going to work out for him. While Phant is going to show us the bumper ledge here.
And he has the cape, so if it's something, but it's nothing, so not getting it.
I feel like every time you start hoping that bumper has something, it's nothing, and when you don't have the cape, you see something there, and then you're hunting for it all seed long.
Shoutouts to Late Bit in chat, waiting to see who his opponent will be next week.
Has the opportunity to spy the competition, may as well take advantage of it.
And that mirror will also help zer0rush quite a bit with his routing in the Dark World, like... Oh, as Phant pulls a Tempered Sword in Thieves Town. I expect zer0rush to do Thieves Town here, but, now combining Pod and Eastern potentially becomes a play, though we still don't have... Oh, and French Vanilla Mitts, because of course. Yeah, we still don't have a way to get that bow. And Phant doesn't know about that bow.
No, Phant has not been up to those flipper checks. zer0rush, of course, did those out of logic relatively early on.
Oh, and it looks like zer0rush wants to check Saha's closet.
It may be under the general thought that I probably shouldn't continue offering a Sphere 1 location any longer than this.
but he's not going into Eastern, or doesn't seem to be planning it, because if you're going into Eastern, you do that, once you flute to 5, you do that before Saha's Closet.
I could be convinced not to in a situation like this where I have no bow, hoping that one shows up, but since Zero has already seen one of the bows, that's a little less likely in this case. So, yeah, it's a bit of a choice.
So, flute to 3 and joint Phant in Thievestown. This is interesting, though, because Thievestown is a pendant. Phant has opened up quite a bit with those mitts, but he's continuing to the back.
I have to wonder if that's something in the nature of a gamble, hoping or thinking, depending on how well he knows Zero-Rush's playstyle, that maybe Zero-Rush would not be inclined to find an item in the back of Pendant Thieves.
Well, there's one item in the back, and it was just 10 arrows.
Yeah, and still no small key. Of course, with the hammer in hand, you don't really worry all that much about finding or not finding that small key.
Did we find any items in Skullwoods?
If we did, it certainly wasn't anything interesting. It was 3 small keys down the left-hand side of the front. I want to say the compass was in this chest that Zero-Rush is heading to now, so it's a question of what was... Oh, and we saw Zero-Rush pick the map up out of that right-hand chest, so yeah, I think it's absolutely nothing.
Meanwhile, Phant finds the bug net, so back of Thievestown is a bust. He's taking the risk that there's nothing on Ped. We sure hope there's nothing on Ped.
Zero-Rush would have been in a little better position to check that with both the mirror and the book, but has decided against it.
Zero-Rush forgetting he still doesn't have any keys.
And is probably going to have a bit of a laugh when he opens the next 3 chests, which are all keys.
So either 2 items in the back or an item in the big key in the back and the remaining items in the big chest.
Not the most helpful pendant Skullwoods in the world, that is for sure.
And with Phant here doing Smith Chain, that is an example of something Zero-Rush will have a much easier time of if he chooses to do it, since he has that mirror. And that was a nice move on Zero's part, getting the free elevator ride, except that he used the drop down, so it doesn't actually get him to the entrance.
That's one of those things that it's always really easy to forget by the time you've been in there and checked 3 or 4 chests. Where is the mirror out / the elevator ride from the hand actually going to land me?
But what's really fascinating about this seed is that we've seen 2 items that are absolutely required and that we still can't get. And that it just kind of has to sit in the back of your head.
Yeah, Zero-Rush for one is getting a little closer to them, although with the play over here to Graveyard Ledge is going to be passing up on those mitts just a little while longer.
Well, without those flips, I can't imagine he's going to Kern jump from here, so I would assume he's planning to go back to Vu.
May even simply be a flute back. It's an awfully long walk.
That's true too. Hey, there's our fourth sword, so when zer0rush goes into Thieves to get his mitts, he will get Butter Sword.
Tempered Sword really is that comfort level for a lot of runners. Butter just makes things ever so slightly easier beyond that. Now, of course, you're not going to turn down firepower if you open a chest and it just happens to be there, of course. So we'll have zer0rush making at least one or two of these Village of Outcast checks first, and I guess Phant is going for purple chest here.
Yeah, I don't see what else he could be doing at this point. And again, if Zero decides to do the Smith Chain, he can loop in Cave 45 and Bombos, neither of which we've seen yet, and neither of which Phant can do until he makes the desert play.
It'll be interesting to see if Zero wants to do the Smith sequence, given the items that he's going to have after he gets through with at least the front of Thieves Town. Those mitts plus the mirror and the flute already in inventory means a trip over to Meyer, find out what medallion you're looking for. Yeah, could be in the future.
Yeah, we have not actually seen any medallions yet.
Personally, I feel like medallion hunts have been a bit of Rando's thing recently, its own personal meme. Or at least it has been in all the seeds that I've played, and it seems to be playing out that way so far in this seed as well.
But it looks like Phant is going to combine this with a desert play.
Given the number of checks remaining, the only other thing really available to Phant, I think, would be a pod/pyramid catfish play, so playing over to desert now does make some sense.
And since we're still on our first row of hearts, that blue mail isn't a bad find.
A little added safety for anything that's not considered a trap.
Did zer0rush skip the mitts?
No, zer0rush got the mitts.
Okay, I didn't see them on his tracker, and looks like he is also going to the back here. I was thinking if he decides to skip the back of Thieves, it could give him a nice edge, and he has these extra items, so I'm a little surprised that he's doing this. But so it goes.
Kind of in the nature of an anti-gamble, I guess you could say, trying to hedge against something just being in the back of this pendant dungeon, maybe thinking, well, I have the execution advantage, I can afford a few extra checks, and something like the back of Thieves is not where I want the item that I need to be to bite me.
So Phant's probably going to go get his flute after this. Does make me wonder where that lamp is, though. Also makes me wonder, I mean, yeah, there's some stuff in Pod and Logic. But it does make me wonder if, Cave 45 or Bombos Tablet might be our logical progression at this point.
Both of those certainly possible. Pyramid Catfish along with those few checks in Logic and Pod before you get into the dark. There are still some options, but they're dwindling pretty quickly.
So did zer0rush just kind of decide that, hey, actually I'm gonna nope out of Thieves? That I'm a bit puzzled. He just, I mean, I guess he suddenly remembered where Cane of Samaria is and he's gonna do Dark Death Mountain. But I'm just surprised that he started for the back of Thieves and then changed his mind.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. So we have both of our runners on the mountain, one light, one dark, both heading for different required progression items.
Hey, that's a nice find.
Feels pretty good after you've been walking along for 44 minutes to finally get a little zoom zoom in your life.
But we still can't finish desert without a fire source. Hey, time to check TR medallion. And it's Bombos.
Alright, well, we know at least one of our medallion needs here. What do you think? Is it under the doormat?
I tend to doubt it that. Oh, sure, as soon as I say that.
Doubt all you like, Drosy. I see how it is.
That was ridiculous. That was truly ridiculous. I mean, I don't know. Without Fire Rod, do you really want to dive Crystal TR?
I mean, I guess the idea would be it's likely to lock you out pretty quick, but maybe that's where the flippers are? It would be an awful place to leave your flippers behind. And it appears that zer0rush agrees with me. So while our runners have kind of taken a couple of fairly different routes to get here, both of them have pretty much reconvened on Dark Mountain, plus or minus whether or not Phant wants to go ahead and go into TR here.
Well, and I guess zer0rush is going down the rabbit hole since we do have a small key there. If he gets a small key in Chain Chomp chest and a vanilla big key, then he can go to Laser Bridge. Definitely a time investment if it comes up dry, though. Ooh boy.
And the rabbit hole grows.
And Phant is out of the mountain.
Very possibly an important divergence here. Let's see, with those boots going to go ahead and make the boot checks.
Powder comes in handy.
Best safety in the game.
And that is a small key, so we can still do Mimic Cave, but that's it.
Yep, Mimic Cave going to be the stopping point here, but there's nothing preventing that from having something that zer0rush is looking for. Would not be the first time that a Fire Rod has been in there expecting you to go all the way back to the beginning to pick up the big key to continue.
Oh no, let us not speak of such things, but you've probably already ordained it now.
We only speak of such things because we have seen them before.
That's giving us our first look at Mire area. If it's Bombos, it's full clearable.
Yeah, to answer a quick question in chat, the flute was on top of Spectacle Rock.
Okay, so Mire is Quake. Key is probably right here under the doormat, or Checkerboard Cave, right?
Yeah, under the doormat or hiding under, outbacks. Ooh, that ice rod is an interesting find.
So I missed what was in Mimic Cave, but I assume it was nothing.
I feel like chat would have exploded on us if it was something like the fire rod, so I think we're safe.
Chat asking how there's been such little crystal completion, but the question is, what crystals would you have the runners complete? I guess they can do Out of Logic Ice Palace, though they know the flippers have to show up at some point to do Swamp.
I guess now with the boots, Phant making the play back into Crystal Desert, this could be the thing. Maybe you're going to find first fire here and be able to clear it out.
Well, it can't be the lamp because the boots were on Death Mountain.
This is true.
And Phant did just get a big 20, and that's our second item in Desert.
Alright, continuing with absolutely no joy, zer0rush going to go ahead and have the look at the lumberjack item. Phant had that look substantially earlier. We've been waiting with bated breath for the big 20 to become important, but of course it is not going to be. And it is that time. Phant is going to go ahead and show us just as much of Palace of Darkness as is actually available.
Could have those pesky flippers. Could have that pesky lamp.
Pesky lamp would make all of this a little more logical. Pesky flippers would actually unlock some dungeons that our runners might want to get into. So here we are, Palace of Darkness, which is really front-loaded with keys. You have to find at least 4 small keys in the front suggests, and you can find as many as all 6, although that last one is a little bit of a unicorn.
But it is not logically bow-locked, so we know we can continue here, and the game isn't going... We're not going to wind up in some weird out-of-logic situation like we are with all the stuff we got off the mountain. You get those first 2 small keys, you check the vanilla big key chest.
Yeah, particularly when you have not found a big key yet. zer0rush has also gotten the bad news about Desert Palace, has the big key now, but still no fire source to actually finish.
There's Ether, which is good for killing Stalfos.
Yeah, it has some edge case uses in taking care of enemies, but as far as logical requirements to finish this seed, not a thing.
Well, it looks like zer0rush is going to do Bombo's tablet as a one-off rather than combining it with Smith Chain.
That's an interesting choice, and Phant has performed the potion camera unlock. Using the potion while moving left in the room before that mimic room, you can cause the camera to desynchronize, and as long as you do not move left past the doorway, you can kind of move back right towards the previous room and finagle all those mimics off screen, at which point the game thinks, well, they're all off screen, so they're dead, right? And that's the condition to open the door, so go ahead.
Oh, there were flippers on Bombos. How about that?
Well, well, well.
Does that make... Oh no, I was gonna say, are we Fire Rod from Go Mode? No, we're Fire Rod and Quake from Go Mode. On zer0rush's side.
Yep, Fire Rod Quake on zer0rush's side. Phant still going to need to either gain knowledge of the bow or find the other one.
He's also gonna need to, you know, check Bombos' tablet, because those flips are very much hard required.
Not going to get away without them. You could sequence break your way into Ice Palace if you wanted to, but Swamp is going to stop you cold.
Hey, and there's our other mail upgrade, too. To answer chat, Bo is on Zora Ledge, at least the one we know about. There is, of course, another one somewhere out there, but assuming the one on Zora Ledge is our logical bow, the other one could be in GT for all we know.
And the reason that Phant has not waterwalked that bow yet is because Phant has not gone to the Zora area and doesn't know it's there.
Well, that's one use of that ether that we're not really going to have any special use for.
Yep, that or Bombos are favorites of mine in this room, particularly Ether, because you can use all of the Kodongos as kind of a guide to help figure out where you want to be.
Have we turned up anything at all in Pod, by the way?
That Ether Medallion, I think, is the most outstanding thing that Phant has pulled from there.
Oh, and a shield.
Well, if you go in for shields, I guess that one's not too bad. Speaking of shields...
As Zero finds another.
Palace of Darkness is no joy palace. We did see that zer0rush picked that big key up. I'm pretty sure there was a full left side skip here, so we've got at least an item outstanding already.
At least two, since he picked up the compass as well.
Ah, so he did.
I think you have to go back in. You're still 2 items from Go Mode.
I can't imagine the situation where I wouldn't, but then I'm the player who got knocked out in the round of 64, and zer0rush is not.
Very nice Argus fight. For 3rd bottle. So it looks like Phant's gonna give us our first look at Catfish, unless he's planning to hookshot over and do Graveyard Ledge. Nope, he's going for Catfish here.
Catfish makes a lot of sense here, particularly with the mirror and the lack of having done the Zora area check so far. Now has, you know, that Cane of Samaria plus some bombs, so Splash Deletion available.
So Catfish is nada. Phant is in this weird situation. He can't check Waterfall Cave. He doesn't have a charged Water Walk. He now knows about that bow.
Likely to either see splash deletion here or a quick return to somewhere that a water walk can be armed. I see that comment from Aaron in chat. I'd be Googling the fake Flipper page right now. I hear ya.
Well, he thought about it and decided against.
That is interesting because we have seen some high-level tech from Phant in the first couple of games of this series, up to and including an RTA mimic clip, performed in both Game 1 and Game 2.
I'm puzzled by Phant's decision to walk out, though, because... where's he going? Like, is he gonna do Graveyard Ledge, I guess? There just isn't that much up here that would justify walking out.
Yeah, I am not sure. I feel like if you want to be doing North Dark World checks, you could have saved and quit and fluked to 3 pretty much as quickly.
And Swamp is a bust, but we do get a crystal out of it, and Zero's now going to do Ice, which, with those flippers and that Bombos, is fully in logic. Or no, looks like... yeah, he is doing Ice. I was starting to think that maybe he was getting the bow, but no, it would make sense to get the bow right after Ice.
Yeah, probably mirror right after this, go get that, since you're kind of in the middle of nowhere at that point, just perform the save and quit.
In fact, invoking the rule of fire that if you need Bombos to get into Ice, then Fire Rod's probably in Ice.
It is an entirely reasonable guess, and, you know, one of those things that you are going to have to find eventually because, well, we know that the big key for Turtle Rock is locked away with that Fire Rod.
What you really want, though, is to find the Fire Rod after you find Quake, because once you find the Fire Rod, then Quake can be anywhere, including crazy stuff like Ped or Pyramid Fairy.
Very true, but sometimes Rando is just not that kind.
zer0rush decides to hit that switch even though he's doing a full clear here. Good thing there wasn't anything in the dig spot because Phant got picked up by the duck too quickly to grab it.
That was a thing. I'm not entirely certain that I had seen said thing before, but that was rather amusing.
Did he not see what it was? It was just 10 arrows. You don't need to... Oh, no, he's going back for his portal. I see. So, yeah, it was a total mistake on his part, I guess.
Yeah, made the swap back over to the flute and then just, you know, activated it out of muscle memory. It does happen.
And this is our first look at K45. And there's the Fire Rod. That could hurt zer0rush. He skipped it. And I was actually a little puzzled that he went to the trouble of doing Bombos Tablet, but didn't do K45. This could be bad for him.
Still likely to pick it up in the long run when the Smith sequence becomes something that he thinks he needs to do, but yeah, that's going to be a bit of a tough location for Zero to get to.
Yeah, and usually, you know, if you're not doing Smith Chain, if you're doing Bombos as a one-off before going into Swamp, you also do K45 as a one-off before going into Swamp. And there's Phant's flippers. But until that Quake shows up, both of these guys are going to be clearing everything anyway.
Yep, still going to have that one outstanding medallion.
Hey, there's our lamp.
And finally, the logical chain snaps back into place. That seems to be one of Lamp's more favored homes lately. Oh, Pixie, that is cruel and unusual, and I hear what you're saying, and I can't help but agree. It says, okay, now Quake can just show up in her basement.
Well, I mean, Quake can really be anywhere except inside Mire. Or inside GT, I suppose. There's our third shield.
I have to wonder, with both of these runners now with fire in hand, albeit different fire, if we're going to see some more desert plays now. Even though it's a 5-6 crystal and the other one's TR, so theoretically, Quake on Pyramid Fairy could be a thing. Just a bit tough to say at this point. Also with that fire rod, it was zer0rush who made the... Well, both of them did, because Phant did that strange thing where he dropped in and got bailed out with all 3 Ps on the left side, so both of them know that there are a couple of things there. I wonder how quickly after he runs out of crystal dungeons, Phant decides that Skull Woods might be a play with that fire rod.
So zer0rush is probably going to full clear pod. Just a note for his tracker, zer0rush did finish Ice Palace.
And I think our only new information in Palace of Darkness is going to be whatever Helmasaur King has. Now that...
Yeah, Phant cleared the whole thing other than Helma King.
I was just trying to remember, since it's been a handful of minutes, if there was just a dungeon item outstanding or if it was actually an item.
Zero will be slightly faster about it because doesn't matter how good a player you are, Dark Maze is faster if you have a lamp.
Undeniably true. If for no other reason than simply holding the sword out slows you down a little bit.
I wonder, like, if zer0rush is gonna do Green Pendant while he's here, since he doesn't have that Fire Rod, though. In any case, I mean, it could lead to Quake, for all we know.
Yep, Medallion Hunt is going to Medallion Hunt. There's no way to get around it. Speaking of getting around things, however...
Wow, that was nice.
You know, you just kind of turn the corner and don't fall in the pit by barely ever not pressing your A button for a little while. Yeah, easy game, right?
Yeah. So I think Zero does, run out of stuff to do before too long, but he might do Green Pendant turn-in before that happens. But yeah, basically, if you're rooting for zer0rush, you're hoping that Quake doesn't turn up soon. If you're rooting for Phant, you're hoping that Quake does turn up soon, because at this point, Phant would be in go mode if Quake appears. But as long as both runners have to check everything, that gives zer0rush more time to get back to Cave 45.
I'm beginning to wonder if we're going to see that Quake buried deep in Turtle Rock now that the Fire Rod has granted us access to the back end of it. Not really its natural home on Laser Bridge, but, could be an amusing place to find it. Well, while we're getting checks that the runners are making that the other runner has already made, we're about an hour and 10 minutes into this thing, so it's time for a little reminder that if you've been enjoying the show these runners have been putting on in this semi-final matchup, this deciding Game 3, go ahead and give them a follow, clearly you're good enough to get this far in the tournament, you play a decent amount of rando on your own time. Both zer0rush and Phant putting on the show for your enjoyment this evening.
And zer0rush now grabs his Riot Shield. Phant will get his in Ice.
Inching ever closer to that visible display of maximum power, just missing the red mail on zer0rush's side. Seems unlikely that he's going to find that, though. K45 will come before the purple chest turn in, more likely than not.
Hey, do you remember where the pod big key was? I mean, obviously zer0rush has it, but I'm just wondering how much of the full clear was necessary regardless. Ah, it was in the front, according to chat. Okay, so... yeah, zer0rush could have saved himself a trip to the back. At the same time, he didn't take that long going to the back.
And that's a second crystal on the board for Phant, is trying to close that gap, but zer0rush is going to encounter the Helmasaur King here in the next 30 seconds or so.
That will be zer0rush's fourth crystal when he gets it.
Yeah, probably unsurprising that Phant is now heading for Ice Palace, another one of those full clearable crystal dungeons.
I'm betting Zero does Eastern after this.
Seems reasonable. You're unlikely to be any closer to it than you are right now, and it does have 3 items plus that green pendant to add one more little bit of density. I don't know, Drossi, have we mentioned Quake?
I think we've mentioned Quake.
Yep, Quake is decidedly a thing.
And indeed, zer0rush is going into Eastern. I don't remember how many items Phant got out of here. But I think Zero's committed for the long run, and the only question is, does he do Smith Chain after this? I guess if Quake turns up, he does Mire area. Well, Mire, he's done the rest of the area, right?
Yeah, he has. I'm not sure what all zer0rush actually has left aside from that.
Back of Thieves? Remember,
yeah,
he aborted that.
Yeah, he did make that early dip out of the back of Thieves. So we had bombs, green rupee as the first couple of items in Eastern. Since it's been a good hour since Phant was in there, it does kind of bear repeating what we've actually found now.
And now zer0rush has to decide on the 50-50. He does go to check the vanilla big key chest.
Phant with a very nice stair clip there in Ice Palace.
Yeah, so Phant probably goes to TR after this. Unless he... Actually, Helma King does have an item, right? So he probably wants to finish up Pod before he climbs the mountain. Just in case it's Quake and puts him in go mode.
Yep, it's a reasonable play. Of course, at the same time, sometimes that density of 5 locations in Turtle Rock and the red crystal in case you need to get your Quake medallion off of Pyramid Fairy may be calling your name a little bit. And then you can make that pyramid play, and then you're kind of right on top of Palace of Darkness. Aaron making a good point there in chat. That book was super early. If this is a bed seed, both of these runners are not going to be pleased with themselves.
Well, especially since zer0rush was in that area with the mirror, he could have checked Ped without too much difficulty.
Yeah, a lot of runners do have that mindset of it's never Ped.
Until it is.
Until it is. It appears the Armos Knights did have the final item of that Eastern Clear bombs, single rupee, and a piece of heart. The green pendant would need to bail zer0rush out here from the complete time commitment.
What's he got left in Pod? Well, I guess he just tripped it all by accident.
Yeah, may have just stepped on the portal, not picked a bomb up soon enough, something along those lines.
Saha has the Uncle Bomb, so that did unfortunately eat up a bit of time for Zero. I'd say he's probably still got a small lead if he does Smith Chain right now. Because he did clear out the front of Turtle Rock, so he'll make up some time in there.
Yeah, and I don't know that he really has much else left over here unless he wants to do Back of Thieves first, and it appears not with that hammer out.
Yeah. Well, that's good at least. I mean, don't really need that bug net. He's not Gamma, right?
I'm reasonably certain that he's not. He lost a game before the finals. And as you had surmised, Phant is back over here in Palace of Darkness, wants to get that item off the Helmasaur King and the Crystal before committing to a next play.
Yeah, so this is where zer0rush catches up, because this play back to Pod, just because it takes so long to do this and the cutscene and everything, this is like a solid 2.5 minutes. that Zero's already been through that Phant's now doing. So I would expect after this, Zero and Phant will both converge on TR. As we said, Zero's already checked a few things in there, so that'll allow him to pass Phant, and then it's just a question of where the heck Quake is.
Yeah, that has been the ongoing question for a little while now. zer0rush about to happen upon that fire rod. Seems likely to still turn in purple chest at this point, since again, that medallion hunt still ongoing.
I mean, they're both checking everything until Quake shows up. Like, after you finish TR, you probably do Hera Basement. And then you do Desert and Pyramid Fairy.
Zero picking up the sticks and then fluting to 7, Phant with that crystal catch, so all of a sudden our runners are tied up on the crystal count.
So rude, slashing that poor rabbit.
So what was that, about 7 seconds between the two of them getting onto the mountain? Now, as you had mentioned, zer0rush has opened TR and made a couple of checks already, so he is in a little bit of a better position than it may look right at the moment. I say as Phant gets dead rocked.
And zer0rush has also already opened TR, which Phant has not done.
The Dead Rocks absolutely playing as dirty as they often do on Phant's side, still blocking him.
Wow, not a good day for Dead Rocks. This is when you just take out the powder and exact your revenge.
I would say or the Quake medallion, but oh wait. So here's zer0rush back onto this fire rod locked side. We know the big key is hiding over here. We have the potential for something else interesting to be here, however.
Ooh, that's interesting indeed.
Kind of a Schrodinger's item. It could be valuable, it could be a total waste of time. We will not know.
Maybe something good, maybe something bad.
Not a whole lot else that our runners could still really be looking for. I guess the silvers are still outstanding in the way of things that are not Quake. 4th bottle.
Just given item density, it's getting increasingly likely that silvers are in GT.
Yeah, Phant about to get the same news of questionable value there, while zer0rush is going to work through these pokies who had kind of the anti-dream RNG running exactly away from him. So we still have both the map and the compass outstanding here. So this could be buried just as deeply as it wants to be, or of course it can simply be on that mushroom that we've already found.
To answer chat, neither runner has finished Desert because neither runner had a fire source when they did the front.
And they found both items, so they don't really feel the compulsion to go back until and unless they're good and ready to get the crystal / want to do Pyramid Fairy because their Quake medallion has not appeared anywhere else.
But Pyramid Fairy is, after all, moot until they finish TR here, so might as well finish TR. So now the question is, 2 items at Pyramid Fairy, 1 item on Mushroom Turn-In. Oh, there it is. Okay, go mode.
Yeah, or it could just be that first chest on Laser Bridge, and Zero is going to check another chest because of reasons?
Silvers? I don't know. Forgot he has the key already?
So whether zer0rush is sure of it or not, that is zer0rush in go mode, nominally, at 1 hour and 24 minutes and change.
Nominally?
Well, if he doesn't realize it, then he may keep checking checks like he was on Laser
I hope
Bridge.
he realized it. I mean, his own tracker is nice and updated, so...
Ooh, went for the Zero cycle and missed the Ice Rod shot on the Firehead.
And if you're worried about those beeping hearts, he does have a fairy. I am groaning at homemade beer right now.
That seems like it's going to be a thing in chat for a hot minute, doesn't it?
I agree with OK Aaron's reaction. Okay, so now we do the nice Meyer Desert combo. Maybe it'll even be a God Meyer today.
Yeah, it's only a God Meyer when you can't actually use it, or at least it sure feels that way.
Yes, and our tracker is in agreement with you there. Do remember... Okay, yes. If it's Quake to open Meyer, you have to kill the Murderdactyl first, because as a flying creature, it is not affected by Quake and can still fly around and injure you while you are using it.
And we'll be more than happy to take your sword beams away that you would really probably rather have for this room that Zero is coming up on, Meyer 2.
That one Popo was a little bit pesky. And so Phant is about to get his go mode. This is somewhere in the 2.5 to 3 minute range after Zero. Though he is not bothering with the rest of the bridge. That'll save him a little bit.
Yep, there's still a little bit of routing to be done, but by and large we are down to execution at this point. Both of our runners already have the Desert Big Key, so there's not really going to be any surprise to be had there, just going to mirror over probably at the back and wander right on in.
Well, here's where Meyer routing might play a small difference. We'll see if Phant routes it the same way. And there it is. So Phant can't do any better than zer0rush. He's not going to make up time here. The only question is, does he, say, check lobby chest before he checks compass chest?
Yep, a bit of an unfortunate key location from the perspective of possible routing differences saving time to close the gap in the race, but, you know, here we are, we still have GT, of course. Looks like Phant dashed a little further up there intentionally to go ahead and despawn that Murderdactyl, bearing in mind that Quake was not going to kill it.
And Zero gets off Spooky Action Glitch. Great, first try.
The second spooky action there that you were commenting on specifically is probably the most difficult of the three. Of course, there are a number of different ways you can go about trying to set that up. That's definitely not my preferred layout, but, you know, it's really a matter of getting consistent with what works for you.
And with Buttersword and Red Mail, Zero can do all this stuff that the vanilla game is not expecting you to do in Vitreous.
Yep, just power right on through. Slime's not going to stop you, that's for sure. And that is crystal number 6 on the board for zer0rush. Just needs to mirror over and have a quick fight with the Landmolas.
I was just thinking, just in terms of subtle differences, zer0rush did the spike chest before the bridge chest. Phant did it the other way around. Bridge chest before spike is more common, and given that zer0rush hovers, I'm even more surprised he chose spike before bridge, because if he found big key on bridge, he'd just hover over to the bridge to the left and go to the basement.
Yeah, that is an interesting note. I know that some non-hoverers, myself included, will just go for the non-hoverers version of Godmire to begin with, and, you know, hope that the key is where we need it to be, but that's not really a consideration for zer0rush, as he showed earlier in Palace of Darkness. Looks like Phant may have come up a little short on magic there and had to go down a screen to pick up enough to get through that torch puzzle and pick the big key up.
And down goes Landmo, and this will be zer0rush's 7th crystal, which means we have a little game to play. I don't know how to kick it off, though, in ZSR. Do you, mind, DM? Or do we have, like, a restreamer or someone who can kick it off?
I do not know, but hopefully here in just a minute we will play the game a little differently as we do on ZSR. You will be able to place your bets. I see we have Lost the Pirate there in chat. We'll hopefully get this bot kicked up for us in just a moment. Rather than merely guessing your number, once this bot gets up and running, you can place your bet with !bet and your number. 1 through 22 of where you think that big key might be hidden away from our runners today.
Ah, there we go. So where are you thinking?
Let's see, it's
put
been
in my
reasonably,
preferred 10.
been reasonably roundabout. I think something in maybe the 16 range?
Ah. Oh, Goatfish Man just took it. You'll have to think of something else.
Yeah, that's fine. I can share the glory. It's all good. Yep, Phant going to drop in and say hello to Vitreous, but here in about 3 seconds, Zero is going to kick off the crystal cutscene and be waiting to enter Ganon's tower.
So get your last bets in. We will close the game when zer0rush enters the tower.
Alright, here he is, going to go ahead and make the homeroom start like so many runners do. You hope to get at least a small key, and has found one. Also a compass, and so is going to continue to the right here. The compass may be a little bit of a pointer to compass room, who knows?
Well, when you do tile room first and find a small key there, this is certainly the fastest way to check everything. So it also minimizes the amount of time Phant can possibly make up. He could go left first and make up a bit of time, but zer0rush is still going to be able to do those checks before him.
Yep, going to go ahead and steal that small key, and it is time to make the play straight down the left-hand side until you find what you're looking for.
I still haven't found what I'm looking for.
Oh, haven't you?
Hey, there's our sort of unique item, or 100 unique items, if you will. And the fourth bottle. So we're now halfway through the basement, check-wise, and no big key yet. Guess my 10 was too optimistic, as 12 is a big 20.
And it's always about this time that you start wondering, should I have just gambled tile room?
But who would gamble tile room? Besides Willard J. Bradley.
Now, I feel like there might have been a tile room gamble involved in the Mr. Scruff Ninja Tuna match where the mad lad decided he was going to go pick up his second needed sword on the catfish.
Well,
there were some shenanigans that game.
Phant had a bit better of a time with the Waffle House drive-thru there. He didn't get totally dead-rocked out. And we are now 17 in. It is a 20% chance of tile room.
The chances keep rising until they drop to 0 or rise to 100.
We also haven't found silvers yet for all this.
Surprisingly enough, and there aren't really a whole lot of remaining item locations for them to be hidden.
Two checks in Skullwoods and Pyramid Fairy and Pedestal, and what else have we not seen?
Outside of the rest of GT, not a whole lot, I don't think. I think you've pretty much covered the spread there.
Hey, half magic's nice, and there we go, 21. And Chad, of course, really wanted that tile room.
Yep, holding out so much hope, you get right down to the end there, and the seed says, nope, all that hope is gone. but it appears that zer0rush has been counting arrows very carefully, is now down to 0 with that kill of the 4th and final red mimic at the beginning of the climb.
Sorry, I was a bit, confused by the winning bet, but I guess no one bet more than 17 without doing tile room, so 17 was the closest to 21. And Phant will take the same routing as zer0rush, so again, not really much time he can make up here.
Nope, as a practical matter, it is down to sheer execution at this point, and going into the matchup, it seemed that the community at large believed that zer0rush had the advantage on that side of things.
I mean, I think everyone would agree that zer0rush had the best execution of anyone who entered the Challenge Cup. And it was only a question of, would that execution be enough to carry him through? And so far, it sure seems it. Oh yeah, chat pointing out we haven't found either boomerang yet.
Well, how are you going to complete a seed with no boomerang? Or a bug net. How are you going to fight Aga without a bug net?
Well, that's okay, Phant has the bug net at least. That's how he'll catch up to zer0rush. He'll have the bug net for the Aga fight.
There you go.
Hey, there's our first boomerang. And there's silvers. Yay! Everything's good now.
I was kind of hoping it was going to be both boomerangs, honestly. I'd call that a very cooperative Moldworm too. Just a couple of pats of butter and the explosions begin.
And at that point, you don't bother with the last chest. And yeah, zer0rush only has one arrow to spare for the Ganon fight. Now he still has a pretty comfortable lead. He's a full GT climb ahead of Phant. So even if he somehow misfires and runs out of arrows, I'm not too worried for him.
And these Aga 2 patterns seem to be leaving quite a bit to be desired.
Yeah, what was that, like 2-1-2-1 or something? So as Phant picks up his half magic and big key, or big key and half magic since he had to do them in the other order, zer0rush will drop into the pig.
You know, Ganon turning into a bat thinks maybe he's going to take over Dracula's spot, then he's going to go off and quote Kefka. I don't know that this alternate villains thing is really working out for him.
Oh, and zer0rush is on relatively low health even with red mail, but no biggie because he's on to phase 3. Buttersword's nice for that. Not for phase 3, it doesn't really matter what you're using on phase 3, but for phase 2, for getting to phase 3.
Yeah, butter tends to make a lot of problems go away as long as they're not, personal health-based problems.
Very nice timing to get in a silver and the torch glitch. Doesn't quite get the triple to end it, but here we go. One exploding Ganon, and get your GGs in chat.
That is going to put the end to this Game 3, decided in the favor of zer0rush with a race time GG time of 1 hour, 44 minutes, and 5 seconds.
And looks like Phant being already in the gauntlet is gonna finish this one out, but let's see if we can get zer0rush in here in the meantime. And we are joined by zer0rush. GG.
Good game.
Hey, good games. Thank you.
So, how were you feeling when you found that fire rod?
Pretty bad. I mean, I don't know if there's much else to really say about it, but obviously I was heading that route with the mirror anyway, but found flippers first, so I was like, well, I can do that later with Smiths, and then it was, the fire rod, which felt bad, but
That explains it, because I was wondering, because usually if someone does bombos like that, their next thing is Cave 45, but I see you just decided to follow the flippers.
yeah, because I wanted to get the bow, and it seemed like I needed, I think, just Quake and Fire Rod at that point, and going to swap into Ice into Pod seemed really good. And I was feeling pretty behind at that point, so I just went for it, but I guess it ended up not being too bad, because I got it pretty much immediately after Pod, but still didn't feel great, especially after going up the mountain like 3 times.
Yeah, I mean, you were actually ahead because you got the mirror quite a bit sooner.
Oh yeah, yeah. That
so
one
let
was
you
pretty
flute
nice.
around.
And yeah, I did end up triple dipping desert technically, but finding the mirror first got me the flute, which saved me a lot of time traveling.
Yeah, my best guess is that's ultimately what won it for you, that you just had the mirror so much earlier, so you were able to do much better routing than Phant, and the flute, so you were able to move around the map faster.
Yeah. Yep, mirror flute's a very powerful combo. And then I got mitts kind of late, but I think with as late as I found them, it went about as well as it could. Like, I didn't, even with missing the mitts, like, I didn't have to go back and, like, recheck Village of Outcasts for anything, really, or anything like that, so that was nice.
Yeah, oh, that reminded me, though. You started to do the back of Thieves Town and then decided against. What was going through your head there?
When I went in, I was already planning to not finish it, and obviously if you go all the way to the basement, you might as well kill blind, and I didn't want to leave the attic either, so I kind of compromised and just went up to blow open the floor. That way, if I did come back later, I could just hit the switch and go downstairs. That's really good.
That makes sense. So you missed out on your bug net.
Yeah, I left an item there. I think there's an item in Hera Basement, but I didn't have a fire source. And
yeah, you were both in that situation, so we never saw Hera Basement.
Yeah, and there's the last item in Skull, I think, was on Mothula. So
did we see either item in Skull? I thought we didn't find either.
I think I found a red rupee, I want to say, in the vanilla Bikini chest or something like that. I could be wrong. It could have been both items were in the back of Skull.
I could be misremembering as well.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
other
Phant's on Ganon Phase 3 here. But yeah, so you've made it to the finals. Late bits in chat. Already making you the favorite for the finals, it sounds like, based on what he's saying in there.
Nah, I mean it's randomizer. Like, even if you have an edge, it can't be that much of an edge, you know. So, this series against Phant was kind of terrifying because, like, at no point during any of these games did I really feel like I was doing well enough to be confident that I would win.
Yeah, they were, some fairly close matches. I mean, I guess, the mismarked tracker in game 1 didn't help matters. But then I gather game 2 it was really, you checked purple chest in a timely manner, and Phant didn't. And down goes Ganon for Phant, so get your GGs in for him. And he finishes in second with an official race time of 1:49.57. So let's see if he wants to join us in here. He will, of course, be playing W. Garrison next week for the bronze match. And here's Phant, GG.
GG's.
So, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that was a really rough seed for me, where the items ended up landing. It really wasn't a way to efficiently route them all in with like the routes I like to take. So I ended up doing a lot of stuff really slowly and just compounded with a couple big execution mistakes. And yeah, it was pretty rough.
Yeah, but before you got here, we were discussing that probably the key play was that zer0rush, even though it made for a triple dip of desert, went to desert quite a bit sooner than you. So with Mirror, and then he immediately grabbed the flute off of Spec Rock because you had both gone up Death Mountain at that point. So that just made for a big routing difference until you eventually went to desert and also got the Mirror and flute.
Yeah, it was a pretty bad spot for the Mirror, if I'm being honest. I saw it and I was like, yeah, of course it's here. The worst place it could be. I think that was almost the last location Mirror for me, given everything else I had done.
You just weren't feeling tempted by the early book?
No. Usually, like, I'll wait for something, but like not having a fire source or boots, and like having to walk all the way over there with no flute, it's like it's just so long and so inefficient to go there. In this case, it paid off, but it's just a play I really don't like doing.
Yeah, and in my case, the only reason I really headed over there to begin with was I hadn't done Dam or Aghanim at that point. I did Hype Cave to like dig game, and then the Eastern Light World, and then Death Mountain. And so at that point, I was like, well, I'm not going to not do the Dam just in case. And so I kind of ended up next to Desert and just walked in there while I was over there.
Yeah, that's basically what I did. I routed in Dam when I went over to Desert. Skip it at the beginning since we had Dark World access so early. I was hoping for the dream of checking Dam with Swamp, but no. Alas, it couldn't happen.
Yeah.
I noticed that was one thing that the early book made both of you do. You both skipped Dam when you did your first South Shore checks.
Yeah, you basically have to, go to Aghanim Desert that way anyway, unless you get flute. So, given what we had, I didn't see too much point checking Dam earlier. It was still risky. Like if Mirror was there, I mean that's absolutely massive. But I was just like, I'm gonna bank that the seed isn't entirely bottlenecked by Dam, which it wasn't, and I could be slightly more efficient routing it in. Like getting the hook shot and I think mini Moldworm Cave, that allowed that to be a little bit quicker.
Yeah. It's kind of rough because in the first 20-30 minutes, we had all these available locations. Half of them were pendant dungeons, and we knew where like 4 major items were, but they were all locked behind stuff. Like even the Zora ledge, like because it was the bow, and because the red cane was up on Death Mountain, like there was just no way to get it, even sequence breaking it. It's kind of miserable.
Yeah, that was another thing. zer0rush, you discovered that bow quite a bit earlier because you fake flippered and did all those checks. Whereas Phant, you actually did the catfish check, which zer0rush never did. That may have also cost you some time because I know you then kind of ran out of there as well, so it was a lot of going in and out.
Yeah, that was, in retrospect, that was pretty bad for me to walk all the way out from Zora. Like mentally, what was going on there is like I kind of assumed I had flippers, so I mirrored from catfish, walked over to Zora, then like okay, I can get back down to the mirror really fast, and then I jumped into the water and was like, oh yeah, that's right, I don't have those. So at that point, I was like, oh, I'm already here, might as well just walk all the way back, and got me butter from not cave 45, from graveyard ledge. So like that was like, but you know, butter sword doesn't really do much, if anything, other than making like the 1/1 on Ganon free. But no, I was hoping to see something better up there. But yeah, that was probably 3 minutes just right there. Explains half the difference.
We were thinking when you went down from Zora that maybe you knew the Samaria plus bomb setup for Ancilla delete, and we're going to be able to fake flipper down and grab the bow right then and there.
I do, but I haven't done that in a while. So no, I didn't want to risk sitting there forever. Because like on the waterfall, it's a little bit more finicky than regular like Ancilla fake flippers, because of like the extra travel distance. I wasn't confident enough in my execution on that since I hadn't practiced it to just pull it out right there willy-nilly. I probably would have spent like 2 minutes there getting it before I got it. Didn't think it was worth it at the time.
Makes sense. Well, we should probably be wrapping here pretty soon. For those of us on the East Coast, it's after midnight here. But yeah, any final thoughts from either of you? I know you both have, big matchups coming up next week now.
Yeah, GG's to Zero for making the finals.
Thank you.
I think you were the clear favorite of this matchup, just in terms of execution. So I'm just glad I was able to ruin your perfect record through the tournament.
Yeah,
so I'll take that as a win.
This is a really rough match. Like, don't, whether or not anyone thinks I'm a favorite, like, they were pretty close games. Like, even the first one and this one especially. The second one kind of was just, one of us skipped an item location and it bottlenecked the whole seed. That was unfortunate, but other than that, like, these were probably the first and third game were probably my 2 closest races of the whole tournament.
Mine DM was saying that this is proof that you're not a Gamachu alt because you actually lost a race before the finals.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it is going to be fun watching you guys get into one more week of this thing. Phant going to move on to that bronze medal match. You get to match up against W. Garrison, who's had his own interesting run on the way in. And of course, we have had Late Bit kicking around trying to spy his upcoming opponent in chat. So zer0rush, I know that your opponent knows you're coming for him.
Yep, I'll be hitting him up sooner or later to schedule those. So. But yeah, other than that, I guess we'll see how it goes.
Well, good luck to both of you in your upcoming finals and bronze matches.
Yep, good luck.
Good luck.
And on behalf of Zelda Speedruns, I'd like to thank everyone involved on this. Obviously, thank our 2 runners for putting on one great show tonight. Thank our commentators and our trackers. This was an absolute wonderful show. And zer0rush, best of luck. Actually, both of you, best of luck moving forward, because Phant, you're not out of it yet, are you?
No, still got one more before I'm free.
All right. Well, once again, I want to thank you very much for joining us this evening, and thank everyone who stuck around to watch. We're going to do a raid on a Wind Waker Randomizer Challenge Cup. It's not a race, but a runner practicing. So those of you who'd like to stick around, other than that, thank you all, and I wish everyone a wonderful evening.
Yep. Thanks for commentating, guys.